Guys. I don't talk much about, not enough about the good things about life, about the joys of being alive, the things that make life bearable, the things that make life worth living, worth being alive for. I think we all go through periods of life where we get stuck in a rut, and we all get kind of bogged down with whatever's going on in our personal lives, what's going on in the news, whatever's going on in our immediate lives in various ways, and sometimes you just go through something. You go through something serious that kind of changes your outlook a little bit on life. It gives you a bit of a shock. It gives you a bit of a wake-up call. Something that really forces you to wake up and to confront the life that you have, and to be honest about the fact that you're wasting it away and you're not getting the most out of it. You're not doing anything to try and appreciate life. As I said in my video about cannabis, I think that cannabis is definitely a very useful tool in moderate amounts. But I do think that there comes a point, like anything in life, where you do have to, when you reach a stage where I think you have to say, that's enough for now. I need to step back. I think I've gotten what I needed to get out of it, and now it's time to step back and to focus on something else now. That might sound a bit contradictory, as in comparison to the video I made on cannabis. Excuse me. But that video was me basically saying that there's definitely, I think, at least in my opinion, that cannabis can be a very useful tool and should be allowed to be a part of society, I think, under very strict circumstances. As I said, in moderation, with breaks, and using microdosing. This is not a video about cannabis, but I just wanted to clear something up about that video, really. Because I think there comes a point where you can overdo something. You can start to become too reliant on something. You can start to get too complacent, and you start to head towards a point where you don't regulate yourself, where you're not regulating yourself as much as you should be, and it starts to cause problems for you. And this is why I think that it should be something that's done through the right mechanisms, I believe. I don't think it should just be something you should just be able to get off the street. I think it should be something that should be done under very specific circumstances, in a place that's, in a centre, a medical or health facility, a centre in which you can get the most out of it, but it's also it's comfortable, it's legal, it's designed specifically for that kind of thing. But also it's a place whereby if you happen to have severe side effects of that experience, which does happen, then I would say that, it's better for if you're going to do something like that, to be in a place where they have all of the resources in which you would need if something goes sour, which can happen. And just to be clear about why I'm saying this, is that I recently had a very severe bout of panic and anxiety, or let's call it a panic attack, an anxiety attack. And I don't want to be too dramatic about it, but it really wasn't very nice. And that is definitely an understatement. And I only say that not to try and convince people not to use cannabis. I think cannabis is a really, really remarkable thing, and it can have it has a lot of potential. It has a lot of elements to the experience that can change one's life, I think. But there is obviously always the potential for your body to be too sensitive. And you don't always know what kind of level of THC it is, whether it's in the edible that you're consuming, or whether it's in whatever you smoke. So there's always a potential for things to go sour, and I think if you're someone like this who's quite a sensitive individual anyway, I just think if you're going to do something like that, you need to be in a very safe space and be surrounded by those who have the ability to help you if something goes severely wrong. And I have now taken the decision, because of what happened 3 days ago, to now step away from it, because I don't think, well, first of all, I don't want to go through something like that again. And as I said, this video isn't about cannabis, but it kind of ties into the overall sort of theme of this video, that is gratitude, appreciation, living life naturally. There's a place for cannabis. There's a period in which I think it's good to use it, but I think at some point you have to step back and put it down and live, as naturally as naturally and as normal a life as you can away from it. It's something I think you should do when it calls for it. There's a time, I think, in people's lives where sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need something to kind of give you something, to give you some insights, to give you some reflection, to give you something, a bit of an awakening in some ways. But unfortunately, like all drugs, like all substances, there are side effects. Some are mild, some are moderate, some are severe, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, I happen to find myself in a really difficult spot for a few hours where I felt like I'd completely lost control of my mind. I had literally lost all touch with reality, and if I'm honest with you, I still don't quite feel myself even a couple of days on from it. And yeah, I really would like to do whatever it takes now to avoid having to go through something like that ever again, because it was really, really horrible. But anyway, I don't want to make this whole thing about some kind of sob story, pity, some self-pitying thing or anything, but I just wanted to be honest about it and transparent and tell you partly why I've decided to give it up, because I don't think I can handle it anymore. I just can't. I can't. It's good to take a break from the default setting of your own mind, But when your mind starts to act in a way where you feel like you can no longer control it, where you no longer have any real control of your own mind anymore, you know, depersonalization kicks in, derealization kicks in, and it's really, really, really frightening. And I don't, you know, I just can't go. I really just can't. I can't do it. I can't do that again. As much as I can avoid it, you know, I just, no. It's just, for me, it's time for me to just say, look, I had my experiences. You know, I had some great insights and some really, you know, some really incredible stuff happened at times. But, you know, there comes a point, I think, in everyone's life where you do have to start questioning whether what you're doing, and not just with regards to drugs, but just in general, whether that's the right thing for you anymore, whether it's with the job that you're in, your partner, whatever things you're doing in your life, whether it's, you know, gambling, you know, it's using alcohol, whether it's partying, you know, I don't know, it'd be impulsive buying, whatever. Just to name some negative stuff, or potentially negative stuff, or just stuff that you think is actually helping you and it isn't. Or rather, you're doing so much of it that it's having an impact on other areas of your life, you know. So it's not so much an addiction of sort, but, you know, there's a potential for addiction there, or addiction's already set in, or you're getting close to a point where you could become addicted to something. And I'm not saying, by the way, that I was addicted to cannabis. Far from it, and I was hardly using any of it. And I wasn't using it every day. And yeah, it's just, it wasn't so. I mean, it wasn't like it was something that I could quite easily go without. It wasn't something that really bothered me that much. It's like I did a little bit of it every couple of days, usually twice a week on average. But I never really went overboard with it. But certainly that amount that I had the other day was a bit too much for me, and it's not. I'm not saying here that cannabis is the problem. You know, in fact, I'm not saying that, because obviously it's not necessarily the problem, but it can really trigger serious symptoms that, you know, you just think to yourself that I'm just going to be sensible and just say, no, I'm just drawing a line under it. All right, that's enough for me. So I just wanted to say that, really, you know, if you want to do cannabis, please be careful. Please be sensible. You know, do it in moderation and do very small amounts of it, if you're going to do it at all. I don't condone drugs. I never have. I never will. As far as just anyone doing it willy-nilly, it's like, you know, I think if we reach a point in society where it does become legal, I mean, I know in some states in America and around the Netherlands it's legalized, but I mean generally across the world, I mean, I think if it is going to become a legalized thing, it must be done under a highly regulatory body, and it must be extremely safe. And as I said, microdosing is the key. So I don't sit here and say, don't never do cannabis or never do it again. I'm not saying I'm never ever going to do cannabis again. I'm just saying that for me personally, and my advice to other people is, you know, learn to take breaks, learn to step away from it. You know, don't let it consume you. Don't let it become a habit, because it's not necessarily so much an addiction so much. It just becomes a habit, you know, and it becomes not to the point where you can't function. You know, I was function just as I was any other time, but it does become, you know, it just becomes a habit more than anything else. It's not so much addictive in the sense that you can't put it down, so you can, but it just becomes it kind of just becomes like something to do, really. It's just a something to do. It's better than the boring mundaneness of not doing it kind of thing. It's like, whatever, you do you. It's like, and it's not for me to sit here and criticize you. How can I? I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say don't do it or whatever. But I would just say that just be sensible, be wise. But that's all I really want to say about cannabis for now. It's like this wasn't meant to be a video about cannabis, and it's not. But I do feel that I had to say that. And the reason I needed to say that is because of that severe panic and anxiety attack. It's made me realise that there's so many things to be thankful for. There's just so much to be. Rather the trauma that kind of came out of it, or that traumatic experience, which is exactly what it was. If you've ever gone through it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's pretty horrific. And I suppose, it's kind of given me a different kind of outlook on life now. It's given me a bit of a boost, I suppose. It's made me realise that, life really is incredibly fragile. The mind, the brain, is so vulnerable. And the thing that we call our reality, and the comfort of our feeling ourselves in that reality, the things that we recognise around us. We take that for granted. We take being as we normally are as for granted, what it is to be you, or you sensing you. So easy to get used to things. It's so easy to just, because we expect it, don't we? Every day we wake up, we expect to feel ourselves and to feel the world around us, the physical world around us, and us to feel like we are in control of ourselves in it. I can't think of much else really as far as anything that could be worse than losing control of your own mind. It's obviously pain is one thing, but to completely lose control, to completely lose touch with reality is a pretty horrific thing to go through. Whether it's induced by cannabis, whether it's induced by an accident, whether it's induced by degenerative disease, or whatever it is, it's brain damage, whatever it's a really, really, we're so fortunate to be, if you're lucky enough to have the ability to feel comfortable in the thing that we call reality. The thing that we feel is steady and stable and it's physical. It's a physical thing. We can touch it. We can feel it. It's ground you, the ground below you. Feeling something in your hands, feeling the floor on your feet. That's precious, man. That's really precious. And it might sound really silly to say something like that, but we don't realize just how precious this life is. We really don't. We wake up every day, we have our breakfast, we go about our day, we go to work, whatever, and we don't think too much of it. We just go into essentially survival mode. We don't really sit back and really think about it that much, because we're so used to it. We don't think we're going to lose it. We don't think we're going to... We never think we're going to go without it, And it's only when you have an experience like the one I said that you realise that, the mind can, the mind is only in control if it believes that it's in control, or the brain, or however you look at it. And once the brain starts to malfunction, or rather feels like it's malfunctioning, or it's that it perceives something to be a threat, then the mind starts to react in a way that is beneficial for your survival, is beneficial for the brain's survival, but can cause you to go through a living hell. It can give you an experience that makes you question what's real and what isn't. What is reality? What does it mean? Because we know, I think in the end, the only way that we can function in the physical world is if we have a sense of place in our own minds. Without that sense of us being present in our own mind, having some degree of position in our own minds, then reality doesn't really exist, or it doesn't really matter if reality exists, because you can't function. And if you've gone through the symptoms of a panic attack or an anxiety attack, you aren't really fully present anymore. It's like your mind's just fucked off. It's just wandering. It's gone. It's going all over the place, and it's just, everything's chaotic. Everything's seems malicious almost. There's this kind of sinister vibe to it. It's really, really unpleasant. Really unpleasant. And it's so easy to get, like I said, it's so easy to forget how precious it is for you and for me and everyone else just to be able to function normally, to talk, to think clearly, to feel like you're in control of yourself, to have this sense of stability of the mind, that you could control how you think to a certain extent. Because the reality of reality, as far as we are concerned, it only matters when we first recognize it as such and have some control over our environment or the way that we interact with it. And if you start to lose that, then the reality is kind of, it's not reality anymore. It's this state of chaos. It's a state of confusion and this state of manic, stress and pressure and and you can't function like that. You just can't. It's like you go your brain. If your brain decides to flick on the fight or flight response, good luck functioning. If it becomes severe, if the brain, if you become flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, good luck functioning, because you can't. I mean, you could sort of do some things, but it's like you can't really function in any real meaningful sense of the word. So it's so vital that you appreciate life. I'm telling you, man, it really is. It's so vital that you get out there and live and really enjoy it and really live your life the best you can, within your whatever means you've got. It's like, because you just never know what's coming down the line. You never know what's around the corner in this world. You don't know what's going to happen to you from one minute to the next. And in some ways, that's a good thing. I don't think most people would want to know what's likely to happen to them. It's kind of scary enough not knowing, but at least in some ways you have a bit more freedom and liberation through that. And that is the key to this, is that when you feel in control, or rather you feel a sense of comfort in yourself, who you feel that you are, there is a sense of freedom in yourself. You recognize yourself. You recognize the way you feel in your mind, the way that you feel in general. We're just so used to just existing and just kind of just going through the motions, and day by day, week by week, month by, and it's how much time are we wasting away? How much of our lives have we wasted like that? Not noticing the things around us, not really truly appreciating just how fucking special this place is to live in. Just how precious this life is. We're but one massive asteroid away from complete devastation on this planet, or excessive radiation from the sun, or some wandering rogue planet, or some wandering black hole that could just completely obliterate our solar system in an instant, or just one massive, serious, climate event, it doesn't make you think. And what it also teaches you when you go through experiences like when you go through something traumatic like that, is you realise that you're not always in control in life. You're just not. You think you are. You think you can control everything, but you can't. You can certainly try and avoid certain triggers that can bring on certain things, but sometimes you just don't know. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't possibly know everything. I didn't know it was going to happen to me. But then again, I suppose, it was a matter of time before something like that did. But, I don't think I've ever had quite such a bout of anxiety like that before, ever. I mean, it was serious. I was literally about to call, tell my wife and call for an ambulance. That's how bad it got. Because I was literally, I felt like I'd gone insane. Like I literally felt like I was just gone. Like I thought, well, that's it. I'm finished. That's it. That's it. I'm going to end up in a straitjacket in a minute. Because that's how I felt in my mind. I felt like my mind had become a straitjacket. Like I just couldn't snap out of it. I was trying to do anything. I was getting more and more agitated, more irritated all the time, and it was just everything was feeding back into itself as well. It was just more and more anxiety, more and more panic. My heartbeat was racing. Very typical kind of symptoms of panic attack, anxiety attack. But now, whether I've had another one of these before in the past, I can't really remember. I may have had years ago. But when you haven't been through something like that for a long time or ever, it is extremely, extremely worrying. And you do genuinely believe in that moment that you're never going to snap out of it. And it's terrifying. I don't know what else to say about it. It's fucking terrifying. Can't think of anything worse really than losing touch with the thing that we like to call reality, whatever that really means. But the thing of maybe the better word to say is feeling ourselves, or what we call feeling ourselves. You could perhaps say that that's debatable in some ways, but what I mean is, there's a way in which you feel, generally speaking, most of the time, mentally speaking, emotionally speaking, physically, and the way that your body allows you to interpret what's going on around you. In a way that gives you a sense of stability, security, and safety, in which you can navigate that existence, that physical world around you. When that safety or that security of that starts to flex or starts to become malleable, let's say, or rather, your brain starts to interpret, perceive things in a way that completely throws your safety, your sense of safety, your sense of security, your sense of stability out the window. That's when you start to panic, because we don't panic most of the time because we feel in control. We feel normal. I hate to use that word, but we feel like everything as it should be, let's say. And so when your brain starts to go into overdrive, starts having a meltdown, it's not easy to deal with, because sometimes you don't even really truly realise what's happening to you. At first, you start to feel a bit of discomfort. You think something's not quite right here, and you just know it. You know something's off with you. And then, for me, in my experience, like after like 10 minutes or whatever it was, I just started to feel really, really, just more and more discomfort as time was going on. And I just got to a point in the end where I had to, as I am now, come into my bedroom, because I just couldn't cope. Everything was just like becoming more and more and more and more intense. And it was kind of like it felt like an acid trip that had got out of control. It felt like a bad trip on acid, I've never taken psilocybin, but I've seen the kind of visualizations. It would probably be something along those lines. It was like a psychedelic, a bad psychedelic trip in a way. But I take responsibility for it, because I decided to use cannabis. Nobody forced me to do it. I did it, and I should have known better. I should have been more sensible and not taken as much as I did. But that's life. Like I said, you can't possibly know every possible thing that's ever going to happen to you. Nobody does. But by God, has it made me appreciate living in my normal state, living in my normal mental framework. And that's how I want to be for the foreseeable future now. I have no interest now in cannabis, honestly. I want to stay the hell away from it. Not because cannabis is a bad thing, but because it was the trigger, and I am now concerned that I may have another panic attack or anxiety attack episode, whatever you call it, at some point in the foreseeable future. I hope that it doesn't happen, but I now worry about that because it was so traumatic that it's in the forefront of my mind. So I have to do now whatever I feel is necessary to try and avoid it happening again. And I really do hope that it doesn't happen again. Yeah, and for just as a bit of advice, if you ever do happen to find yourself going through something like that, the only thing that I found helped a little bit, and I do mean that, is deep breaths. Really, that's the only thing that helped me calm my heart rate down. So deep breaths, just telling yourself everything will be okay. Just looking around you, telling yourself that everything will be fine. Because the problem with a drug-induced panic attack or anxiety attack, rather than just a normal one, is that it obviously you've got the effects of whatever substance you've had as well on top of the symptoms of the panic attack. So things can feel even more tense than they already are. So that's just worth adding. So I would say that it's the best thing you can do is just to go and lay down somewhere comfortable and just let it pass. It's like there's not really much you can do about it. That's the only problem. It's like the only thing I found is just to try and breathe, take some really deep breaths and focus on your breathing, and that should make it a little bit better. And I realised how ironic and how contradictory this video is compared to the last one. I accept that, but I had no idea that was going to happen to me. I genuinely just, I haven't had, as far as I can remember, a panic attack and anxiety like that for probably a good 10 years, I reckon. So it was out of the blue. It was, it was really unsettling. And I would just say that, just please be very, very careful with your own mind. Just if you're going to do drugs, whatever that is, just please be careful. And at some point, put them down and just walk away and give your mind enough time to reset itself. Because if you don't, you can permanently damage your mind. The brain that creates the mind, its sense of self, its sense of place within itself, and its relationship with the external world. If you're going to do drugs, get something out of them, take something from them, learn something, have it, enjoy the profoundness of the experiences, but then put them down and live your life normally. And now I'm at a point now where I'm like, well, I can't do that anymore, so I have to now accept that. And so, I will miss certain things about using cannabis, just as I miss certain things about using alcohol, or, just anything that makes you feel better or feel good. But you have to prioritize your own health, your own mental health, your own well-being. And that matters more than anything else in this world, probably even more so than your physical health. Because there are certain things you can still live with, even if you damage certain part. It's obviously about, I want everyone to be healthy as much as you possibly can, but you can't avoid everything. But at least with, at the end of the day, if you don't have control over your own mental health, your life's destroyed, it's ruined, because it has impacts upon everything else. Look out your window, find something to be grateful for, find something to value. There are always things to appreciate in this world. There's always things to be happy about. But you have to find them. It's a blessing to be alive. It's there's always things that are going to annoy us, are going to make life difficult, are going to be hard to tolerate. There's always going to be stress. There's always going to be pressure, expectations placed upon us. And so you have to find a reason to tolerate all that stuff. There has to be some meaning in life. There has to be some value in things. By doing things that counteract that stuff as much as possible. Some things that give us a sense of it's still worth it. Even with all that other crap that we have to go through, life's still worth it. It's still worth living. It's still worth getting up for every morning. Because without that, without love, without connection to things, to people, life means nothing. Life is nothing. Without the joys of travel, without the joys of I don't know, whatever it is, making love, having a holiday away somewhere, eating your favourite foods, buying something you really want, meeting up with your close friends, speaking to your family. Life is nothing unless it has some kind of value to it, some meaning to it. And, that's an obvious statement of the century, but, it really just is as simple as that. You just never know what's going to happen to you from one day to the next. So the best thing you can do is to try and find something during that day to be thankful for. Find something that you think that's special. That is special. Because it is. Just the very fact that we're alive right now is special. The things you have around you are special. The things, the things we take for granted every day are special, are important. They matter to us in some way or other. Do what you can do in this world. That's all you can do in the end, Don't force yourself into something or into something that's not you, Just don't make yourself unhappy if you don't need to be. Life's already stressful as it is. You don't need to add on top of it. Go out, go for a walk, ride your bike, go for a swim if you can, Do something. Distract yourself if you have to, focus on something. Journal, whatever. Make videos if you want. But find something, for God's sake, in this world that makes you happy, that gives you some kind of, and I hate to use the word positivity, but like something that spikes you, that props you up every day, It doesn't mean you have to be excessively positive and optimistic, but just something that just makes that day worthwhile. It gives that day something to you, Find something to cling on to. Find something. Never ever take your own mind, the health of your own mind, the health of your own brain for granted. Never do that. Never take this life for granted. You don't know if you're going to have a heart attack tomorrow. You're going to end up in the hospital. You don't know. You don't know what. You don't know if you've got another day left. You don't know how long you've got. None of us do, And yet we go about our lives thinking that we've got forever. That everything will always be okay. That everything will always be comfortable for us and stable and just right for us. And it's not always going to be like that. I can assure you. And shit will hit the fan at some point in somewhere, some area of your life at some point. That is just inevitable. Your health will take a dip at some point. You know, you will have some experiences that make you see the world in a different way, that will make you appreciate life, whether you want to or not. You'll be forced to. Because we should. We should appreciate life, but we don't, do we? Who can really say for the most part that they appreciate life every single day? And why would you? You've gotten used to it. You've gotten used to waking up and having a normal day, an uneventful day, a boring day. But by God, is it nice to have a boring day. It's nice to just have a mediocre, normal day where your mind works as it should. That's fucking special, man. To be alive is to look around you and see just how fucking precious, fragile it all is. The fact that we are one planet in a series of barren fucking lands in our own solar system. The fact that any potential life in our galaxy might be at least a few hundred to a few thousand light years away from us. The fact that there may very well not be any other technological or intelligent civilizations within our galaxy, or if there are, they're too far away and they're too far spread out from each other. Talk about humbling. You know, life should fucking humble you, man. You should be humbled. You should be fucking humbled every day you wake up in this world. The fact that your heart keeps beating away, your brain's got enough oxygen. We fucking waste our lives, man. We waste them away. Years, decades of our lives being ungrateful. And I'm the same. I'm the same. We don't realize how precious we are. We really, really don't. And I get it. It's hard to be appreciative sometimes. It's hard to be grateful. It's hard to find happiness. I get it. I understand. I'm the same. When life's not going well for you, when things are falling apart, when doesn't seem to be anything on the horizon for you. And I get that. I understand that. Life is fucking difficult at the best of times. But sometimes you just need to just take a second to yourself every day, you know, just take a few seconds out and just look around you. Look for something. Look for some little spark. Look for some small little gem to keep you humbled, to keep you in awe of this world, you know, just to keep you inspired, to give you some kind of fucking hope, something to hold on to, something to give you some reason to keep going. Because there are a lot of things that can easily make you snap and to tap out and to give up. I've been there. I've spent the last decade of my life giving up, doing fuck all, doing nothing. And so, if anything, this recent experience has taught me that I have to get to fucking grips. I have to start maintaining some control of my own life. I put myself in a position where I had less and less and less control. And now I have to build myself up so I have more control again, gradually. But at the end of the day, only I can do that. No matter what people tell me, is, if I can't do it myself, then I'll never do it. We can't rely on other people. People can give you advice, they can support you, but you have to want to do it. You have to genuinely really want to change and to do better, to be healthier, to be happier. And it's fucking hard work. I accept that. Nothing's easy in this world. It's all the struggle. I say all of it. It's all the struggle. Everything you want to do in this world that's worthwhile is a struggle in somewhere, whether it's mentally demanding, emotionally taxing, physically hard, a combination, whatever it is, everything is always going to be hard. Because the brain doesn't like things that are difficult. It likes rewards, it likes quick fixes, it likes instant gratification, it likes dopamine, it likes feeling good, it doesn't like feeling vulnerable, it doesn't like feeling fragile, it doesn't like feeling like it's not in control. So we try and do whatever we can to we try and keep we're essentially we let the brain take over the mind. The mind is the thing that we have. The brain is the thing that gives us the mind, but at the same time, the brain is often the thing that holds the mind back. Your job is to control the mind as much as you possibly can. The brain's going to do its thing. It doesn't really care. All the brain has to do is just keep you alive. The only thing you can do at the end of the day is to do whatever it takes just to try and stay in control as best as you can. And to look out there into the world and say, there's something out there for me. I deserve something. Because all the shit that I've been through better be fucking worth it in the end. You need a counterbalance. You need some things that make it so that all that garbage, and it is garbage that you go through, it's worth it in some way. It's better for you. To live a life, Because otherwise all this life is just struggle. That is what life is. That is literally just all life is. It's just one struggle to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. Until the day you die. Until the body just literally can't fight off the struggle anymore. That's all it is. That's all this life is. Unless you have things that make it more tolerable, make your life more tolerable to live, because you get to escape it a bit. You get to have a break from it all for a period of time. This is what this experience taught me. You know, that in the end, you know, you have to have things to look forward to. You have to have things to give you hope in this world. Just don't take my life for granted. Don't take it for granted, please, whatever you do. It's one of the worst things you can do. Because you stop living when you do that. And when you stop living, you might as well not even be alive anymore. You might as well not exist. Life is, you know, as they say, life is for living. And it's so true. And you might say, well, yeah, but you're only saying all this because you went through what you went through. True, but so in a way, I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad that it happened to me. And now I am. At the moment, at the time it was happening, it wasn't, trust me. But now, upon reflection, hindsight, you know, maybe it was what I needed. Or at least that's the way I'm interpreting it. Maybe it had to happen. Maybe it was the right thing that happened to me. Because sometimes we need things like that to happen to us, to recalibrate us, to say, buckle up, take heed, you know, take notice. I'm in control, fucker, not you. I'm going to humble you real quick. So the ego likes to maintain control, but in the end, it's not in control. It thinks it is. Get out there and live your life. All right? This is going to be the last video from me in a while now. But just don't fucking waste your lives away, man. I'm sorry for the swearing, but just don't waste your life. It'll eat you up eventually. You know, the regrets, the guilt, it'll eat you up and it'll destroy you. So don't do it. Do what you got to do to survive, to get by, to make your life more bearable, more tolerable, more enjoyable. Do whatever you got to do. Because at least you can say you did something. You didn't just sit around all day crying to yourself. Because we've all done that. We've all done it. We're all guilty for it. But it takes more of a human being to get up again, and to keep fighting back, and to keep being resilient even though you don't want to. But you'll be surprised, man, what you can go through. You'll be surprised what you're capable of if you just push yourself a bit. So get out there and fight. Fight for something. Fight for what you believe in. Fight for something worthwhile. Fight for something better that you believe you fucking deserve. It's got your name written on it. It's for you. There's something in this world for you. And when you believe it, it'll happen to you. Don't waste your life away. That's what I've done. And I regret it now. But there's always a point to turn things around. That's where I'm at now. I feel like I've reached a point now where I see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I finally see that there's something on the horizon. And if you do see that in your own life, go and get it. Go and grab it. Because you don't know when that's going to happen again. You only get one life, man. You only get one. And it's fucking special. It really, really is. A life is special. It's not always easy. That's fair enough, but it's important. It matters. Catch you again soon. Take care.